and welcome to another edition of SSN TV News. I'm Tess Nasilevich. I'm the managing editor of Security Systems News. I'm here at the ISC West show with Carter Rierson, and he is the owner of Best Defense Security and Fire Protection. And he's going to be talking to me today about school security, which is still very much on everyone's minds after the horrible incident in December in Newtown, Connecticut. Welcome, Carter, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Can you talk a little bit about what, from your perspective as a security and life safety company, like what do schools do now for security?
Sure. Well, we've seen a lot of schools who've made immediate changes to their security plans. The week following the most recent attack, we had some schools that immediately took some changes, but it's a little bit frustrating because we're really installing in the typical scenario the same type of security we've been doing for literally 20 years. The typical school is first providing perimeter security. We're seeing a lot of card readers at the front entrance along with an intercom and then a camera. So they're securing the perimeter and kind of filtering all traffic through a common entrance. And it is important security. It addresses the majority of the problems, but it really doesn't address the worst case scenario. And it's kind of like going to bed at home at night and locking your door. It's common sense security. It's important, but the industry needs to know, the schools need to know that this is not the solution to minimize or help to minimize the worst case scenario.
Yeah, you had mentioned, I think, that you would suggest more of a multi-tiered approach. What do you mean by that?
Absolutely. If we look at military applications, for example, for the last 15 years or so, mass notifications have been applied to military installations. And in more recent years, that technology has advanced into what we now call emergency communication systems or emergency voice systems, where the fire alarm is no longer just a fire alarm. It's truly an emergency notification system for the building. And when we look at a multi-tiered approach to school security, and all security should be multiple layers or multiple tiers, a multi-tiered approach to school security should include not just perimeter security, but also a notification within the building that something's about to happen. And I call that tier 2. And the first step there is certainly to have a method in which if attack begins, we can immediately notify the entire school that it's underway. It shouldn't come down to a school principal very heroically pushing a PA button to alert the school by letting them hear gunshots. The technology is here today where it has been here, but the technology needs to be applied so schools have an automated process to speed up that delivery and formalize that delivery to everybody in the building. With an emergency communication system, that's pretty easy to do. You can integrate different technologies that automatically set off the emergency communication system, whether that be a panic button, or what I like to see is a multi-tiered panic button. We can have a red alert that takes us into lockdown, lets everybody know this event is happening. But I also like to see like an orange alert. If somebody begins to become hostile, they're becoming a problem, we send out a chime tone or maybe some text notification that assistance is needed in the office or at the point where people are allowed in. So people can respond and help to mitigate this before it really escalates to the next level. So I like to see a panic button or a notification device or a switch or something that can notify people that help is needed to, again, mitigate it before it goes on. But if an attack occurs, there's many ways, such as panic buttons and so forth, to not just trip a notification to the authorities, but also trip an output to the building. So we can have alert strobes, amber alert strobes flashing throughout the building, an automated message playing, red, code red, locked down. We're letting people know right away. So that's tier 2, communications. In addition to that, as soon as that happens with an emergency communication systems, we can integrate and automatically control the response of what happens. So, for example, with Tier 3, if a panic button is pushed, we not only let them know that it's occurring, we can also lock down doors and compartmentalize the building. I mean, we're installing access control systems already.
Right.
We have locks on many of these doors. We have automated fire doors. Why not, in the event of an attack, as soon as that alert mode occurs, why not compartmentalize? Let's slow their progress throughout the school, give our authorities more time to respond, and hopefully try to contain that person into the office. There's technologies that can be added to that. For example, window films. Window films can be added to windows for the cost of $10 a square foot or so.
Wow.
They're not bulletproof, but rather than taking 5 seconds to break through a window, it may take a minute or two. Anything to slow them down at a relatively small expense can be added to, say, a secured school office to help slow them down, moving throughout the rest of the school. All as part of Tier 3 lockdown. Tier 4 should really be taking the communication that we already have, the systems that we already have in place, and doing a better job of integrating the technology that we're providing to the responding authorities. So, for example, we're already installing cameras in the schools. We're already installing card readers and this emergency communication system. We need to take that, and we need to take ownership of that, both as a security dealer and as a school district, to say, how can we use this as a tool, not to just better alert our staff, but also integrate with the responders.
Right.
So as the EMS responds, as the police teams respond, how can we use this as a tool to let them better see inside the school and see what's happening, better communicate inside the school and see what's happening. For example, it would be very easy to take an emergency communication system and integrate it with a radio receiver.
Right.
So a responding police officer could turn to channel 8 or 10 and speak directly from his radio to the emergency communication system in the school. Provide instructions, tell people where the shooter is, and do this all without going inside the school. It's very easy to do.
Wow.
It's easily integrated. So.
Yeah. And what, as you're talking, it's occurring to me, another step is convincing schools, helping them understand what you're talking about is available. How can security, life safety companies such as your own convince school districts that this is what they need?
Well, the first thing is we all need to take ownership of the fact that what we're doing right now isn't working. I mean, perimeter security is important, but it needs to go a step further. We all need to look at the technologies that are available, embrace emergency communication systems, learn the codes surrounding them, learn what the capabilities are, and learn what we can do to interface those systems together. And then get out and work with the architects, the school districts, really the media. Let's let everybody know what can be done.
Wow.
Because it should be done. But from my experience as I work with school districts and so forth, most are not aware of what the technology is. If I tell them a similar story to what we just discussed, they're like, wow, that makes sense, but it's not in the budget, that's not how the system was designed, and so forth. Universities are doing it more and more, but they're still stopping a step short. And military, again, has been doing it for years. But again, with the technology that we have here at today's show, there's a lot of technology that we have here on the security side of things that can do a lot better job of integrating with the fire side of things.
Wow.
And fire can do a lot better job of working with the security side of things to say, hey, let's work together and let's find a new technology in between called emergency communication systems.
Wow.
And let's realize that security does the best job of detecting this and locking things down and so forth, but fire does the best job of getting the message out.
Yeah.
So, when I look at some of the big companies that are here today, they've got some wonderful engineers, some wonderful projects, or projects engineers, some wonderful products, but they've got compartmentalization or silos within their organization. So when you look at some of these big companies that are here today, you've got security, wonderful security products over here, and in the same organization, wonderful fire products over here. Next year when I show up, I'd like to see a lot of those companies working together within their own organizations to say, hey, security, what can we do with fire over here to provide a better solution for schools? Because it's there.
Yeah.
There's a company called Pinpoint Technologies, for example, that makes a Wi-Fi based panic button system. It's a panic button system, but it works over Wi-Fi. So like most panic button systems, if you push the button, it doesn't just tell you somebody's pushed a panic button, it tells you who pushed the panic button and where they are. So I'd like to see companies like that take it one step further and provide me a voice audio output that I can tie to an ECS system that when that panic button is pushed, immediately tells me, code orange, we need assistance in room 202. Or code red, lockdown, second floor, room 220. And that message immediately gets out to the school, locks down the system, gets the message out to everybody, and sends a central station notification to the responding authorities, all in an integrated emergency communication system. For years we've had gunshot detectors. They're expensive, they're effective. You'll see them in lobbies of high-end banks or corporate offices. We also have $30 glass break detectors that we install in so many homes and businesses. Why don't we have a $50 gunshot detector that installs just like a smoke detector? Can you imagine? Gunshots fired in a school or some other application, and we don't just have a gunshot, we have an immediate notification that goes off that says gunshot detected, floor 1 west, room 202 or 102. The technology will be there, but a lot of that technology is security technology, not fire alarm technology. So next year, I guess I'd like to see a lot more communication in between.
Well, these are really great suggestions. Well, thank you so much for talking to us, and thank you for joining us in another edition of SSN TV News.
Monotronics is a leader in technology. We're the first dealer program to make an electronic contract, or what we call an e-contract. This gives our dealers the ability to submit customer contracts to Monotronics and the customer electronically. E-contract is a mobile application that works on a tablet like an iPad. It will make completing and submitting contracts a much easier and cost-effective process. E-contract is very user-friendly and will walk you through step-by-step the required fields on the alarm monitoring agreement and installation agreements with your customer. You can present a home security presentation on your tablet and then transition directly into the e-contract. Once the customer confirms the information, they can sign right on the tablet. Then the e-contract is submitted and a PDF copy is sent immediately to both the customer and the dealer. So if you want to sell technology, you need to lead with technology. An e-contract does just that.